there's anything in the greater crypto ecosystem that you want to talk about, feel free to ask that as well.
Yeah. I spend a lot of time reading and familiarizing myself with all the projects, in source codes. I know a lot of people who consume crypto don't particularly read, the Ethereum source code or the Bitcoin source code, but it is pretty interesting. It's almost like a geological history in a way, because some of these projects have been around for, in some case, like over a decade. So recently I started to look at, um, Zcash started to rewrite in Rust, and I found it very interesting to start reading that source code, because it's a totally new thinking on like how a crypto layer one can be written. But at the same time, reading through the original Zcash or Bitcoin source code is also incredibly interesting, because you can see like almost each year as a new layer was added onto the source code. It's like it's like crypto projects have become these open source time capsules, which I find incredibly interesting to kind of read through.
We've also been researching a lot on layer twos and bridges, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But if anyone has just general kind of questions they have about how L2s work and how Ironfish is thinking about them, feel free to ask as well. The question is, when does the marketing start? So I'm not sure what you mean by that. We've been pretty vocal about Ironfish, but what did you mean when the Discord starts? Because that'll start in a few minutes. I think we can get started here. Oh, turn on the camera. Interesting. Am I a real person? I am indeed a real person. Hi, everyone. All right, so I think we can get started. We're going to talk about a lot of things. Usually the way we structure these is we give a kind of a quick introduction. What I'm going to do for this one in particular is I am going to focus some of this, talk about the mining situation that we're seeing. And then we are going to talk about some of the engineering efforts that IF Labs has been doing. We kind of broke it up into 3 parts. So things that have gone into previous releases, or things that have already been done. Then we'll talk about things that are currently being worked on. And then subsequently, the things that are going to be worked on in the near future. We'll also be talking about some of the foundation updates, as well as some of the community updates. And there's been a lot of activity actually that's been happening that I'm very excited to share with you guys. So first, very quick introductions. IF Labs has a new engineer. His name is Rahul. He just joined this Monday. So it'd be great to welcome him on board. I'm not sure if he's here or not. Yes. But very excited to have him. He's been kind of in the crypto space for quite some time, at least, as a hobbyist. So really excited to have him. Jason, do you want to add anything about our role?
Yeah, we were just incredibly excited to have Rahul. Like when he came to us, he was really passionate about joining the company, and he was also just really interested in joining a team of people that were just collaborating tightly. And so we think he's like an amazing fit. And he's actually already come in and joined a project that we're going to talk about later in the update, and started contributing to a project in motion. So pretty excited to see his like first contributions, kind of like and hit the ground. They'll be released pretty soon.
Cool. So the first topic that I think everyone has been talking about is the mining solution. So, or the mining algorithm change. So just to recap for people who are not familiar, we launched with Blake 3. And right now we're seeing roughly 50 to 60% of our hash power as unknown hash power. And that has been, an area of concern, especially for GPU miners here. There's been a lot of speculation as to where that unknown hashing power is coming from. We don't know if it's coming from FPGAs, we don't know if it's coming from GPUs, and we don't know if it's coming from ASICs. And I personally don't think that there are any ASICs on the network. I think that is highly unlikely, and I think that has been pretty much the consensus from everyone that I'm seeing. No one here believes that we have ASICs. But the concern is still, why do we have such a huge unknown hash power? So there are other kind of coins that have similar unknown hash power. I think some of you have pointed out that Kafka is roughly the same ballpark. I'm not saying it's an excuse of why we shouldn't or shouldn't do it, but just kind of briefing that some others are kind of facing similar threats. Boy, Dre, you're kind of very okay, cool. So firstly, I actually want to thank a lot of the people who have been contributing their knowledge in the mining channel and in the subthread, the hashing algorithms subthread. There have been really great research coming out from a lot of people. So I just want to give a quick shout out. And this is not an incomplete list. So if I didn't mention you, it doesn't mean that I'm not reading your comments. But Jakub from Hero Miners has been pretty consistently giving us really great feedback. Fish Guy, Dirty Miner, Lolly Diab, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this correctly, but both on Discourse and Discord, this person has been giving us really, really great research and really great commentary. Todd X, likewise, again, there's been just a ton of research on the some of the existing GPU friendly algorithms that we should consider. Nick, I think he might be. Oh yeah, he said he's taking class today, so he's not here. Johnny 80, a bunch of handle names I can't quite pronounce. I see ZK Snarking here as well, and many others. So thank you. Firstly, I'm just going to recap quickly in terms of what we're seeing for the mining activity, and just kind of recap some of the conversation and how we're thinking about this. So this has been mentioned on the discourse thread as well. So if you're unfamiliar, there's an entire topic on a search for alternative hashing algorithm, and I can link this thread to you guys after this. And there's been kind of discussion of well, where is this unknown hash power coming from? Because if it's coming from another big GPU miner, then it doesn't matter if we change the algorithm, we'll still face the same problem. And so there's actually some discussion of if we are not sure where it's coming from, then maybe we shouldn't change the algorithm, because then we'll be changing it to something without actually solving the issue. Then there's other discussion from Lolly Diab saying that it's very unlikely that the hash power is coming from GPU miners, and he kind of presented his own research as to why he thinks that is. And this is a very huge paraphrase of a lot of conversations that have been happening. So one thing that I really do want to do is actually schedule a mining call. And we just made a poll in the mining channel on Discord to get everyone's time zones, because we want to make sure that we schedule this call in time zones that make sense for the people that are involved in these conversations. And to kind of get everyone in the same call and to really hash out some of these questions, because I want to make sure that if we do change the algorithm, that'll be an extremely invasive change. That'll be pretty major hard fork. We'll have to make sure that all the exchanges, miners, wallets, basically everyone in the ecosystem agrees and adheres to this new change. So it would be a very large change for us. I just really want to make sure that we have all the appropriate research of whether or not changing the algorithm is actually going to solve the issue that we're seeing. There's also a lot of discussion from multiple people to make sure that if we do change the algorithm, then we should change it to some variation that has a succinctness, meaning that something that can be proven in a ZK snark, for instance. So you could prove the validity of a block header in a snark, and that will make it easier for basically cross-chain communication. So there's a lot of really interesting discussions there. And then I see Scorpio typing. I did not mention you in the shout outs, but I would like to add you to the shout outs as well. Thank you for all the discussions. So we are scheduling that call. If you want to go into the mining channel, you have to scroll up a little bit. If you can just give us your time zones, that would be great. And then we'll schedule a call to kind of condense all of this. Cool. All right. So moving on, we're going to go with engineering updates. So this is going to be a discussion of engineering updates that have already happened. So these are the things that maybe we even talked about last time, of things that already went in as of the latest release. So I'm going to hand it off to Andrea to talk about asset security and verified assets.
Yeah, thank you, Elena. All right, so for asset security is a feature that we are developing, which will allow people to transfer the permissions on an asset. Right now, if you create an asset on the Ironfish chain, only the creator of that asset can mint new tokens. What we are adding is the ability to transfer the permission to mint such tokens to another account. And this can be done because maybe your key has been compromised and you want to transfer the ownership to a safer key, or just for key hygiene, or just to transfer the ownership to another person if you want to. So there are plenty of use cases here. So this is a new feature that we are adding, and we plan to ship soon. This will require some changes in the transactions on the chains, and this will require the hard fork on the chain, which is something that Jason will talk about later. Another feature that we have shipped already in the 1.6 release is verified assets. So let me show you. So if you're familiar with our Explorer, as you can see here on the top, you can see the list of assets on the chain. And on the top, you can see that there is the Ironcoin, the native asset, which has this verified mark. Currently, this is the only verified asset that we have.
Oh, you're showing the Discord screen. So if you're intending to show the actual screen, I think it's showing the wrong one.
Okay, sorry.
Here you go.
There. Can you see it correctly now?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. So you can see the one on top is the one with the verified mark. We added the ability to see this verified mark on the command line client as well, and on the RPC as well. So this is what you could see if you run a command like wallet balances. You will see your list of assets and the verified one here on top with a check mark. Yeah, and this feature is enabled by default, and it pulls data from our API. So if you don't like that, you can turn this feature off through the configuration. You could, in theory, also have set this up to have your own list of verified assets if you want. So you could, for example, verify these 2 coins down here if you want. So they will display with a check mark as well. Right, that's all I have for these 2 features. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, thank you. Both those features are going to be very helpful to our community, particularly because people have been minting various assets. And if you look at our Block Explorer, you can see some interesting people have already minted assets that have the name Iron, which look like real iron. And so, since, not only do we care about privacy and security, but you can care about security from a usability perspective too. You could say, some projects would say, oh, it's up to the user to check the asset ID before they send. And maybe that's true, but you can also help a user by emboldening like the usability to like help them in certain places. It's also like one of the reasons that we think Ironfish is slightly different, because we're trying to think about these things from this problem, when many other projects, from a CLI perspective, wouldn't ever implement this. You might see that feature in MetaMask, but you'd never see it implemented in like, Bitcoin D or, Ethereum REPL.
Awesome. Next up is Yajun. Yajun will be talking about some of the block timestamps that we've been seeing and how we're going to correct that.
Okay. Yeah, so I was working on the block time recently. So currently the Ironfish consensus allow the non-sequential block time. So this is to handle the common problem of a clock unsynchronization among the server. So during the consensus, we allow the blocks with timestamp that are earlier than the timestamp of previous block. But this grace window is only 15 seconds. But with this 15 seconds, you can still, if you open the Ironfish Block Explorer, you still will see some of the block that has an active block time. So this is also because the miners are incentivized to take advantage of this by setting the block time as low as possible, so they can consistently gain more mining reward. So in the block time project, we propose to update the block header verification in the consensus layer to enforce the sequential block timestamps. So in this way, the block time will be in the same order as the block sequence. If you want to know more details about the changes in the consensus, also how it affects the mining, the new block template, you can go to the fips.ironfish.network. This proposal is under the core category and is called FIP to enforce sequential block time. So currently this change is code complete and is in a separate positive block time branch. It will be released with also the asset security Andrea just talked about in our upcoming hard fork, which Jason will talk more about upcoming hard fork.
Okay, so this is actually a very exciting time for Ironfish because we are doing our first hard fork, which we are calling Hard Fork 1. We will come up with a fun, clever name for it, but it will always be Hard Fork 1. And if you've been paying attention to previous updates, we've kind of put in place the process for this to occur. And that process is a hard fork FIP, just as a reminder, is a FIP, and if someone can link the FIPS website in the chat, that is a proposal to activate a set of upgrades at a future block height. And so we have two FIPs that are getting referenced in this hardcore FIP. So as the two features that have been mentioned, asset security is one, and the second is always increasing block timestamps. So we are pretty excited about this because one, it's the first time we've done a hard fork in the network. Two, we're kind of like working through the process to make sure that it's done kind of well. From an engineering perspective, we want to execute on this. We also have the ability to kind of like hopefully simulate a lot of these hard forks on our side and test them appropriately so that we can activate this. And three, these features themselves, what they're really doing is kind of like painting like the future of Ironfish, right? So block timestamps are responding to concerns from mining, but it's also making our blockchain make more sense. There's very little reason to have blocks that go back in time. Asset security is an important feature that's necessary for integrators like bridges. It's a demand for them, so we need to kind of get that out. And then we are looking at an estimated time of October. So the way that the process will work is when the hard fork FIP is listed and goes live, when that merges, it'll have block activation heights. And we're targeting a 3-week gap such that when it merges, there will be about 3 weeks of gap time. This is subject to change. We'll make sure to publish this when it's ready between when it merges and when that will activate. So if you're familiar with like the cat herders organization of other cryptos, we essentially are going to go into cat herding mode and start kind of announcing to people that they need to upgrade to that version. This will be a mandatory upgrade, and it'll be extremely important that everybody upgrades. If you don't upgrade, you're not going to be on the main chain, and you'll start mining a chain that will not be valued, at least by the exchanges, because they will also upgrade. So, like I said, this is going to target October, but we will be communicating quite a bit up until that point, because we want to make sure everyone upgrades and everybody knows exactly what's going in, what the timeline is. So we wanted to use this Discord update just to let you know that this is coming and that we're working on it now. So that is all that I have about the hard fork. We actually have some engineering updates now about things that are going to start being worked on, which are kind of projects that are coming soon. So I wanted to hand it over to Joe to talk about a project that he's going to start working on.
Yeah, so the first thing is actually, what in the way that these privacy chains work is that if you have an account and you want to import an account that was created a long time ago, you're going to have to rescan the entire blockchain and try and decrypt each note to see if it's relevant to your account in order to be able to determine what is your account balance. That can be a lengthy process that actually takes quite a bit of time, and we've actually found some improvements that we can make that can cut that time in half. So basically what we'll be doing is introducing some changes that allow you to rescan wallets much more quickly. That'll be coming in the next couple releases at some point. The other project that Dan and I have been working on is a wallet server. What is a wallet server? Well, we have various other companies that want to provide wallets that you can utilize Ironfish on. So these are external companies outside of If Labs and outside of Ironfish that want to provide new implementations of wallets. So in order to do that, we want to provide an implementation of a server that can provide that data in a succinct way, so that these wallet providers can host this server and provide like their services to other clients. So the implementation for that is largely done. We are just trying to create an example client so that we can then sort of start to talk to these other companies so that they can start to integrate with the wallet server and therefore the Ironfish chain and provide other options for the Ironfish wallet. Yeah, and I think that's it for my updates. The last thing is a major effort that's been going on by a few team members at If Labs, and that's the standalone wallet, and Rohan will talk to you about that.
Awesome. Thanks, Joe. Yeah, so I think we touched on the standalone wallet project a little bit in the last update. But for those of you who are not familiar, right now when you run a wallet on Ironfish, the behavior is coupled to running a full node. So you are running a full node and a wallet at the same time. And the standalone wallet project is going to enable users to run a wallet just as its own process and connect to nodes remotely. So the main thing we're trying to solve here is if you just want to run a node and you don't want to bog down your machine for decrypting notes as you're connecting blocks from the chain, it's hoping to improve some performance there. Or if you just have like a separate machine and you only want to run a wallet on it and like connect to some remote RPCs, that's another use case we're looking to solve with the standalone wallet project. So this project is kind of on its final set of features. We're just fixing some performance and usability issues, but we're hoping to get this out in the next couple of weeks. Okay, so I think next on the agenda is engineering updates on what's coming up next, stuff we haven't started yet, but stuff that's on the roadmap. So I'm going to start off that section and talk a little bit about the bridge. So I think I saw some people in the Discord chat asking about it. And as most of you are familiar with, the Ironfish network allows you to mint and burn custom assets, and then you can transact with them and send them privately just as you can with the native Iron token. But because we are trying to be a privacy layer for the blockchain ecosystem, the way we want to solve that is by building a bridge to start to connect to different other chains. So in the next coming months, we're going to start working on building an ERC20 bridge So ERC20s are the fungible token standard on Ethereum. And we're hoping this is going to be a way for people who have assets on Ethereum to bring it over to Ironfish. Then you can keep all your assets privately and transact with them on our network. So we haven't started work on this yet, but in the next coming weeks, we'll do some research and prototyping, and hopefully we'll have some exciting updates for you over the next couple of months. Sweet. I think next up is Derek.
Yeah, so aside from the bridge, we're going to have a few other people working on general protocol improvements. We're still working to prioritize exactly what those would be. We have a few ideas in terms of like the peer-to-peer networking layer, things we can improve there. But we want to take this opportunity to kind of look at what some of the issues are we've seen since we've launched, and then prioritize those and work on them as well. And we also have on the Wallet app a few things that have come through. Right now, we need to do a little bit of work to make it possible for us to upgrade the SDK in the Wallet app. For anybody who's used both the CLI and the Wallet app at the same time, you might have noticed the issue with database, an error saying like your database versions are incompatible. We want to upgrade the SDK in the Wallet app to allow for not having that error going forward. But yeah, I think those two projects are going to be our main projects going forward here once we wrap up what we're working on right now, in addition to the Wallet app too.
Nice. I want to give like a small update here as well. One thing that we don't often talk about is we usually talk about what the projects are, but I want to actually talk about a little bit why they're kind of being done, which I think is important to the community. So we launched about 4 basically months ago, 4 to 5 months ago, and we actually have done like a significant amount of work. And we've actually been breaking up kind of like this year into a couple of what I'm calling phases. So the first phase that we entered after launch is, obviously performance and stabilization. And the team had significant amount of optimizations. Miners were having verification speed issues. We have some massive optimizations that went out to that. We launched a node app. We fixed a significant amount of bugs. The team actually really busted their ass pretty early on, right after the launch, to get things running quickly, efficiently, fix bugs, and kind of like make sure that the overall protocol worked well. And this is like a general strategy that I feel extremely strongly about. If you have issues as soon as you launch and you still try to kind of build new features, then what you're doing is you're actually just stretching your tech debt out even more, and it's going to be harder for you to move forward, and it's going to slow down your velocity. So that was the first phase. I think we're kind of currently in the second phase right now, which is, right, if we look at asset security and, right, we look at all these kind of things like timestamps, wallet server, standalone wallet, all these actually fit into a strong theme, which is what we think of as external support for future developers, right? So really what Rohan is saying, like, we want bridges, but we don't just want an ERC20 bridge. We want bridges to everything. We want Bitcoin bridge. We want to go to bridges in every kind of like protocol. And that will require other external developers to also contribute. And so a lot of these projects are building things that will enable other people to, besides IF Labs, to work on the protocol and contribute their bridges in like their projects, right? OreoScan is like a huge example of this. By enabling external developers, like Fish Guy, to contribute, we're getting amazing projects from the community. And that's what these projects are doing, right? Asset security gives bridge operators or other integrators, the confidence that they have the tools necessary to manage the multi-sig keys or other things securely over their assets when a security issue arises. Now, standalone wallet, the purpose of standalone wallet is this. So far, we have our wallet embedded inside of our node. So if you want to know how our wallet works, you're going to have to read through all of our code. One of the main motivations for this is to say, okay, if we want other people to build wallets, which we do, we currently have Fox Wallet, but we've been contacted by other wallets that are interested in integrating, they need a reference implementation. And to do that, we say, okay, well, what if we take our wallet and we move it outside the node so it's treated no differently than all the other wallet projects that are interested in integrating. And then those wallets, we can say to them, hey, go look at our open source wallet, and you should be able to easily see a reference implementation for how you can integrate your wallet with the protocol. And that's the goal of the standalone wallet. Yes, it does help the validator because now you don't have to sync blocks on, like, let's say, a mining pool node. So it actually also has the benefit of reducing CPU for decryption in your validator. But the goal is it'll help skyrocket the Ironfish ecosystem. By doing this, we hope to get many more wallets to integrate with Ironfish. And that's why we're pushing our default wallet outside externally to communicate just like every other wallet should. And the same can be said for the wallet server. The purpose of this is to provide a implementation for a wallet server so someone can build a mobile wallet, or Ironfish, right? Ironfish is interested in building a mobile wallet. But for true decentralization, we think our wallet should be one of many, and to kind of push other people to build their wallet, we need a clear and easy wallet server so people can build like light wallets. And that is an important aspect of like the decentralization of Ironfish. But also, like if you go to our ecosystem page, we are really excited to see that start getting filled out with external contributions. And if you haven't looked at our ecosystem page, you really should, because we're really excited for it. And every time a new project gets added, we feel proud. And if you have a project that you're working on, let us know. So if I was to summarize this phase 2, it's really beef up the ecosystem. We want to see the ecosystem grow. We want developers to come in. And that's what we're focusing on in the second phase. The third phase is going to be kind of provide like building out utility and building things like Rohan has mentioned, like the bridges, and also supporting other people who are kind of doing that, as well as core protocol upgrades that Derek mentioned. So these are like the 3 phases that we're thinking about for this year, right? We went into maintenance and optimization and fixes. And actually, by the way, that will always happen no matter what. We're never going to abandon that. The second is bolster the ecosystem and support external developers. And third will be increasing utility and building integrations, right? We want to realize that vision of basically private transactions for all cryptocurrency. And to do that, we're kind of following this roadmap for this year and splitting it up into kind of 3 phases. So thank you very much. I'm going to pass it on to Elena.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Yeah, no, I think some people have also asked us, why are we not doing the roadmap publicly? And we haven't really published a public roadmap, but I think that the intent behind what we're building has been pretty consistent, which is to build Ironfish to be this privacy platform for all crypto assets. And everything that we've been doing post mainnet has been contributing to that. So thank you, Jason, for kind of outlining the reason as to like why we're putting in so much effort into these things. To make sure that people can use Ironfish very seamlessly, and we can have Ironfish be integrated to existing wallets to make the entire thing easier for people to use. Cool. So next up are going to be some of the foundation and community updates. So from the foundation, we have our very first outside board member. We just published a blog about him. His name is Brian Novello. We are very excited to be working with Brian Novello. He has been in crypto for a very long time. He's kind of been in crypto since 2015, 2016. And his introduction to crypto has been through MakerDAO. He was actually close friends with the founders of Maker. And that's kind of how he got to be in the crypto scene. He was the general counsel for Maker until they basically split into Maker, like into the actual DAO. He is now currently on the board of the Optimism Foundation as well. So he has been working kind of in crypto and working on some of the hardest challenges in crypto for a very long time now. In my opinion, there's 3 big pillars of crypto that we still need to solve as an industry, which is how do we do scalability? Like how do we increase the throughput of blockchains? How do we do better stablecoins? And how do we do privacy? And so what's interesting about Brian Novello is that he's been working on Maker, which is working on stablecoin. He is now on the board of Optimism, which is focusing on scalability. And now he's on the board of the Ironfish Foundation, which is obviously focusing on privacy. So he's actually hit the 3 most important things that I think we should be working on in crypto. So that's been really, really great to see. So the other update is we did give out a grant to Auria, which we'll be kind of announcing in a blog post hopefully soon. And it is for an NFT launchpad. You can do private NFTs on Ironfish today. which is great. And this grant is to actually build a launch pad to make it easier for people to make their own NFTs completely in the private. So that's very exciting to see. We have been seeing a lot of other grants come in, and we are going through them. So thank you for everyone who has applied so far. If you're not familiar with our grants program, it's on our website. If you go to ironfish.network, you'll be able to find the grants page. So if you have an idea for a project that'll benefit Ironfish directly, please apply. And if you have any questions about how to apply or projects we are looking into, feel free to just reach out on Discord. We are here. We have done a number of podcasts in this past month already, and we have been doing a lot of blogs, document a lot of the updates that we've had. So please feel free to check out the blogs. Very soon, in late August, in about a week and a half, there'll be a conference at Stanford, the Stanford Blockchain Conference. We are actually co-hosting an event with Electric Capital, Espresso Systems, and a few others. So if you do happen to go to Stanford Blockchain Conference, please reach out. We'll have a link for you to come to our event. So, it will be very exciting to see some Ironfishers in person. We also have HackerOne. So HackerOne is a platform that allows people to, it's a bug bounty program. We just made it go live this week. We'll be publishing a blog post about it very shortly with instructions for how you can use it to submit bugs for Ironfish. There's a reason why we went with HackerOne as opposed to some of the other kind of more crypto-specific bug bounty programs. HackerOne is probably one of the oldest, most recognized platforms for white hackers, and so it was kind of an easy choice to go with that. So we are also going to be publishing the audit for Ironfish very, very soon. I was hoping to publish a blog post this morning before this Discord call, but ran out of time, so it'll be coming very shortly. And we did our audit for Ironfish with a company called Inversid Tech. And the blog post kind of goes over why we chose to work with them. So just as a preview, Inversid Tech is currently led by Daniel Bernock, who has been working at a company called Kedit and Zcash for a very long time. He's been in the cryptography scene for well over a decade. He's been working with Sapling in particular and with Snarks for a very long time. And then in his team, there are also people who have been working on Scroll, which is a zkVM, and a few others. So it's been a really great pleasure to work with them. And so we'll be publishing the full audit of all their findings today. So the other update is that we have a rolling grant process, and we've been talking to people in the community, who have been reaching out and asking for grants directly. And if you guys saw on Discourse, Matt Luongo from the TBTC Bridge has made a proposal for the Bitcoin Ironfish Bridge. I highly welcome people to go check it out and really dig into it and really ask questions if you have any on the architecture that he's proposing. We are seriously looking at that grant. So any feedback or things that you want to see from that bridge, we would definitely welcome all of that feedback. Cool. Let's see. I haven't been looking at the questions. So are there any questions that I missed?
If you have any questions, we can do Q&A for about a minute.
What's the
Larvik
podcast?
asks, yeah, what's the podcast called?
I don't remember, but I'm going to go on our Twitter page and link it to you directly. Please hold. I think it's called Web3, but kind of second guessing myself here.
Zamut asks, can I watch the monthly pulse later on YouTube? I can't hear anything. I think this one's for Derek.
Uh-oh.
Yes, it'll be on YouTube, but I don't have access to upload anymore, so somebody else will be uploading it. But I am recording it right now.
Perfect.
And when you see it on YouTube, you'll get automatic translations through the closed captions.
Sorry, my computer is frozen, which is very awkward. We'll get that blog post if you want to answer more questions.
Can we rewind? I have a question. You said something about private NFTs on Ironfish, that sounds amazing. I don't think that we really talked about that enough, because that's an external project that actually is not the foundation or IF Labs working on that. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yes. So on Ironfish today, you can do private NFTs. So what is a private NFT? Whenever you mint the NFT, the mint operation is fully public. So you'll be able to see that the NFT was created. If that NFT is burned, you'll be able to see that as well. So that operation is completely public. But who owns the NFT? How much was it sold for? When was it transferred? All of that information is completely private. And so right now, obviously, it's really difficult for you to make an NFT because you would have to use the command line interface to actually do that. And so the grant that we gave to Fish Guy, who also made Oreo Scan, is to make that into a much more easier user experience so people can create their own native private NFTs on top of Ironfish.
Yeah, that's exciting. I mean, this is just one example of someone in our community taking our protocol and, let's say our SDK or RPC and building things on top of it that we did not ask them to do. And that's actually the crux of it. People just use the protocol and the platform to build new products, new ideas. So actually, I just wanted to reiterate that this is an amazing project. And, Lane and I did not build this. This is just purely come from the community. So we're really excited to see projects like this.
Yeah. The other question was, is it not possible to see top holders? And it is not possible to see top holders. That is the whole point. Everything on Ironfish is private. So you cannot see account balances for other people. You cannot see the contents of a transaction. And that is the whole point of why we're building Ironfish. So we'll never compromise that. Will Ironfish use layer 0 is the real question. So layer 0 is kind of a messaging platform. So the way layer 0 works is based on an Oracle and a Relayer. So this is going to be a 30-second spiel for how bridges work in order for me to answer the question. So the way bridges work is in 3 steps. The first step is that the user freezes their money on the origin chain. The second step is that the bridge observes step 1. And the third step is the bridge operator mints a wrapped asset. And so the way layer 0 works is the Oracle gives the destination chain block header information about the origin chain, and the relayer is responsible for decentralizing the deposit key that mints and burns assets. So the infrastructure or the architecture of layer 0 is actually very interesting, and so we are very much looking into that and taking inspiration from the layer 0 architecture, but I'm not sure we can use layer 0 as is directly. So while we might not be able to use layer 0 directly, we are being influenced by some of their design decisions. Cool. Another concern was sometimes people don't have time to watch the whole video. I'm not sure what MOM means, but I think the general consensus, or maybe the general ask, is that we need to do notes or something along the lines to summarize these discussions. Oh, minutes of meetings, yes. Thank you. We've kind of in the background have already been discussing that of we should definitely do that, and we should definitely do translation notes in Chinese and probably Russian, since those are our 2 biggest communities. So hopefully we can do that soon. But
here's a good question as well from 1TX Punch. Elena, do you have 1 to 3 projects on your top of mind that came out of the grants program or in progress in the grants program that exemplify the goals of the program? I'm interested in looking at these projects that are going through the grants program.
Yeah, so the grants applications are not public, but I can definitely talk about them. So the one that we already gave to was the NFT Launchpad that I mentioned. So the ability for people to make their own private NFTs. So that one is already undergoing. We're looking into the TBTC bridge. So if you look at our discourse, Matt Luongo from the thesis team, the TBTC bridge team, has made a pretty hefty proposal with architecture in terms of how would you have private Bitcoin on Ironfish. So we are currently reviewing that one. It's not currently accepted, but you can check out the level of detail and how that grant proposal was structured. There are some other ones that we're actually talking to. So for instance, Zero DAO, if you're familiar with them, they're a really cool team. They are trying to get non-EVM coins on EVM blockchains. So for instance, they're trying to get like Monero on Ethereum. So you could potentially trade Monero on Uniswap, right? They're currently in production, they're in testnet phase currently, but they're trying to get to mainnet this year. And so we're working with them to see if we can be one of their first launch partners. So those are like the top 3 that just came to mind right off the top of my head. But there's a few others that we're still reviewing and trying to really understand the proposal there. But yes, if you have anything in terms of projects that directly benefit Ironfish, please make a grant proposal. Some of the other projects are wallets. So if you're a wallet provider, especially if you've previously done Zcash, then Ironfish should be pretty easy for you to integrate. Cool. All right. And I think that is it, unless anyone else has any questions.
I think that's it. And as always, we'll still be in Discord. We'll be replying. We'll be reading. You can message there and we'll kind of respond as fast as we can. We love interacting with our community. And you know what? For that, we actually love our community.
We do, yeah. SA Trade, I guess this person is upset that you cannot see top holders. But that is kind of the whole point of Ironfish. So I'm sorry if that is upsetting. Okay, awesome. And I think that is it. Thank you everyone for coming. This was amazing. Again, for the miners out there, please finish or please let us know the time zone that you're in so we can schedule that weekly miners call until we figure out what to do with the hashing algorithm for Ironfish. And thank you all so much.